Can you go into that actually a little bit? Because it is an interesting history for people who don't know. Our drug
Yes.
laws are not necessarily based on logic. In fact, they're not. They're based on
No.
racism.
Yes. Ever since the beginning. So
Yeah.
our country's first anti-drug legislation was in the 1800s in San Francisco, and it was targeting opium because there was a huge racism stigma against the Chinese population at the time. Lots of white San Franciscans thought that Chinese immigrants were stealing their jobs. And so going after opium was a way to target them, to persecute them, arrest them, barge into their communities and their businesses and homes and harass them, basically. So that was our country's first drug legislation. And then in the early 1900s, at the peak of segregation and lynchings and the Jim Crow laws, there was an article in the New York Times written by a physician talking about crack cocaine and the cocainized black man and how dangerous they are, and actually encouraging different police departments to increase the caliber of their weapons because they thought that black men on cocaine were turned into monsters and needed bigger weapons. It was just horrific. And
it sounds like something that couldn't possibly be true, but it's absolutely true. That's what is wild.
And the legacy of this still continues. Looking at Elijah McClain in Colorado, how they gave him a much higher dose of ketamine than was needed, which caused his death. And that's because they thought a black man needs a much higher dose of sedative, which is not true. There are studies where they actually ask medical students, do you think black people or white people, who needs more pain medicine, who has a better pain tolerance? And even medical students have this racism baked into their medical judgment.
And it sounds like it's something that's covered in medical school, like they're trying to address that. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're trying to address that.
Yeah, that's good.
But still, people don't even realize, I think. And more anti-drug legislation in the 1980s. Of course, there was the 1986 mandatory minimum for crack cocaine was 100 times greater than powder cocaine, effectively targeting the black community who more often used crack cocaine than powder cocaine, and causing a huge uptick in our incarceration rates around black Americans.